preparing on Facebook. This meeting is being live streamed. Awesome. Monday is starting soon. Monday is starting soon. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Money Monday. Give me 1 second while I get this video shared. To my home page. All right, there we go. Share. Boom. Share on newsfeed. All right. All right, boom, and shared. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna try to walk around here and not get too tangled up in the cords and all that here. All right, fantastic. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Money Monday. I am, as always, your friend in finance, Henry, and we are joined today by the one, the only, Chris Tanner.
Hi, guys. Hi, Henry.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, I got more markers, so we're back at the whiteboard this week. Couple quick things before we do get started. A couple things. These are for some of our clients. If you're watching this, we have a couple things coming up. For all of our clients, we have our book club that's starting up at the end of October. You should have received an email. I'll be sending out another email as well. We're going to be reading a book. Oh, it's too far away. We're going to be reading a book. Actually, I'm going to get it.
Got you. I got you, fam. Today it's me.
Oh, you got it. Okay. We're going to be reading a book called The Psychology of Money. We're very excited about this. This is one of our the company's favorites. Bob introduced this to both me and Chris. And I'll tell you this. It's an easy read. We've already got some of our clients have already told me that they started reading it and they got surprisingly far into it because it's such an easy read. It's 19 different lessons about money, all told through really compelling stories. So we got that starting up. That's going to be starting up on October 20th for clients, and then for platinum clients and above, we're also offering a quarterly review that's going to go through just the presentation on how on your investment performance and how the markets have performed through the dimensional funds that we're able to offer to you. And one final thing. This one's not just for clients. We're gonna bring back one of the favorite events that we've done in the past. We're gonna do a free webinar on real estate. So that covers things like how does a mortgage fit into your financial plan. A lot of people I'm not gonna lie, but people are. You might have seen this too, Chris. People get terrified by the idea of mortgages, but the truth is that mortgages are like everything in finance. If you know how to use it, it creates a lot of really great opportunities. So come to our webinar, find out how can mortgages be used, how can they be a useful tool in your plan, how do you know that you're getting a good deal, and all these things. So we've got a lot of really good content there.
Also, if you're thinking about renting real estate, investing in rental real estate, we speak to that as well. When is that a good idea? Is it a good idea for you?
Yeah. Everything real estate is going to be coming up there. I look forward to seeing some of you there. Fantastic. All right, and without further ado's, we're going to talk today about a subject that's actually near and dear to my heart. We're breaking from my car buying journey for the moment, because we're going to be talking today about this. We're going to be talking about something called HSAs, which stands for, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, stands for Health Savings Account. Is that right?
That's right.
These are accounts you can get. They can be used specifically for paying for medical bills and things like that. And we're going to go into today. And Chris was actually, I knew that these were powerful. And then Chris today, or just a little bit ago, was sharing some of the amazing ways that HSAs can be used strategically, which just blew my mind. I hadn't even considered a lot of those. So that's pretty great. I'll give a really quick overview before we go into some of those strategies. But basically, with a health savings account, one of the things that makes them so great. I'll start back a little bit. In order to be able to apply for an HSA, you have to have what's called a high deductible health plan. So you can't get an HSA with just any old health insurance. It's got to specifically have a high deductible. And so if you're buying your own health insurance through the health insurance marketplace, or sometimes even employers have plans that give that high deductible the high deductibles as well. And you can look up what those limits are. But once you hit that limit, you can open up an HSA.
And I'll just chime in here. Look for, because since HSAs are so good, these health plans will essentially tell you, they'll signal this is an HSA compatible plan. So look for that in your employer benefits, or if you're shopping on the private insurance marketplace, look for HSA compatible because it's a pretty strict definition of what plans HSAs can go with. And so plans want to let you know that you can have an HSA with that.
Yeah, I just actually we signed up for a HSA and a high deductible health plan recently through the marketplace. Molly and I did, and when you're doing that, they've actually even got in their filter, they've got a specific thing saying HSA eligible. So you can select that filter, and then you'll only be seeing the ones that are going to be applicable for you. And like Chris said, the reason why they do that is because these are extremely powerful. These are really good. The thing that makes them really good is that they are pre-taxed. So money you contribute to an HSA ends up being deductible from your taxes for that year, which is pretty incredible. But beyond that, when the money grows in the HSA accounts, that's also and I'm not saying anything incorrect here, right? That's also growing tax-free as well. And then, so long as you're using that money for medical purposes, which includes things like acupuncture and things like that, which I've had employer health plans before, and they don't necessarily cover that stuff. Chiropractic, that wasn't necessarily covered by an employer plan. Those still count, and they are eligible for an HSA. And so you can take that money out for those eligible medical expenses as well. You can take the money out tax-free. So money gets put in tax-free, can grow tax-free, and you can take it out tax-free as long as it is for an eligible medical expense. So that's free money on so many levels right there, which is, it's mind-blowing. And it feels, honestly, because I'm used to how regular retirement accounts work and things like that, it feels weird to be saying, oh, it's tax-free on both ends and in every level. So that's why I'm like hesitating, because you don't usually get to say this as a financial advisor, and that's what makes these so strong. Taxes.
You get to make your cake and eat it too in this case. That's why I love them.
Yeah. Normally, to be able to do everything the HSA does, you gotta put it into a 401k or an IRA, and then do a Roth conversion later on. And there's a lot more steps. The HSA just goes, nope, so long as it's for a qualified medical expense, then that's tax-free, and that's pretty incredible. And it's because of that there's you'll see, just like there's you got to hit a certain deductible in order to be eligible for an HSA. There's also limits which you can look up for how much you can actually contribute to an HSA, because otherwise people would be out there and they would just literally just go, oh, there's $1 million and I'm going to put into this HSA. The thing that Bob says that I like is, if the IRS is putting limits on something, that means it's too good for you. So
yeah.
HSAs are a prime example of that. So I just mentioned, qualified expenses and all that. But Chris, why don't you tell, you were explaining some of the potential strategies that HSAs can be used for. Would you mind going into some of those again?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the perhaps a normal way to use an HSA, which it's in the title, health savings account. And so it's something that's set up to help people save for their health expenses. And like Henry said, as long as the money in the account goes to pay for medical expenses, it's totally tax-free. It's income that never gets taxed. So the normal way to use it would be, you have a high deductible plan. That's the only way you can have an HSA. It would be to have some cash in the HSA. Usually when you set one up, some providers give you a debit card for the HSA account. So you can pay for your medical expenses directly with that debit card. and it goes right out of the HSA to whoever the medical provider is. And so the normal way to do that would be make sure you have enough cash in your HSA to cover the medical expenses you plan on spending money on, plan on using that year, which a good rule of thumb is, okay, what's your deductible on the plan? And have that much for spending, because after you hit the deductible, then the insurance company covers most, if not all, of the rest. So that's kind of the normal, the baseline way to use it. A cool strategy that we use with our clients, especially those who express concern about long-term care needs or the risk of outliving their money, longevity risk, being concerned about, okay, what if it becomes super costly to pay for a nursing home or in-home care when I'm older? An HSA is actually a tool you can use for long-term care planning in a way that's much more efficient than buying long-term care insurance, especially because a lot of long-term care insurance providers have been going bankrupt recently, either that or wrenching up their rates. And a lot of policyholders who have long-term care insurance have been really burned by this. So if possible, again, if our clients have access to HSAs, we're so excited because there's so much you can do with them. So here's the long-term strategy with HSAs. Say, you're making regular income or a good amount of income in your job, and you have a high deductible plan and an HSA. If you're able to cover your out-of-pocket medical expenses, that deductible, out of your excess income, and are able to fund the HSA but not reach into it to cover those expenses during the year, then you have a pile of money, which is actually, it's growing with all of those immense tax incentives. Tax deduction when it went in, the growth is tax deferred, and then if you spend it on medical expenses, once again, tax-free. That's none of the growth, none of anything gets taxed. If you're able to do that, then we recommend for our clients to invest everything that's going into your HSA for the long term. Invest for your retirement, so that then it's a vehicle that's planning to cover your retirement health expenses, or at the very latest, your long-term care expenses if it comes to that point. But just about everybody has higher medical costs in old age than they do when they're younger. And well, provided sort of if normal things happen, just by the normal progression of age and health, that's going to happen. So if you're able to cover the costs of your probably lower healthcare costs earlier in life, then you can leverage the power of that tax-free growth on everything you put into the HSA for your whole lifetime. So imagine being able to put, for a married couple, $8,000 a year into an HSA, and then that $8,000 a year over 40 years and compounding because it's invested for the long term for 40 years, you could have a very significant pile of money for covering older age healthcare needs that grew immensely because of being in this tax shelter. Then another way to apply this strategy, but to tweak it just a little bit, is to invest the vast majority of what's going into it into the long-term planning for retirement. But if you like that extra safety net, you plan on covering year-to-year medical costs, the deductible from your own paycheck, but just in case you want to have a little extra cushion, then in that scenario, we recommend our clients have about the amount of the deductible in cash or in something short-term, so that the majority of the account is still able to grow for the long term and just get huge, but you have that additional cushion of whatever your deductible amount is, so that in a pinch, I mean, if there's a downturn in the markets, you get laid off, your partner has to stay home with your kids or something, you're still in a place to cover your health expenses because you have this little bit of extra in cash in your HSA. So that's a way to add a little bit of safety still to this long-term plan. But Henry mentioned a few of the expenses that are kind of surprising that you can use your HSA for. I think it's not surprising that a lot of the medical costs in older age, all of those are eligible. So including nursing home care, in-home care, there's more on that list for sure, but the things that clients are worried, okay, this is going to be a big, high price tag if I need it in old age. And I think the average stay in a nursing home is 6 months or something like that. There's some statistics about that. If you have $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in an HSA because of 40 years of tax-free growth, you can feel a lot better about it. You are prepared for any expense like that may happen, and especially for married couples or two-partner couples, the probability of one spouse or one partner needing some form of long-term care is very high, and so that's yet another scenario that we'd encourage the long-term view for the HSA if possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, these things are just so powerful. The more that because like I said, we're getting one, and the more that like I've been looking into it, and what are the details about it, the more I've been like, oh goodness, this is incredible. And even if you're young, so you're probably not, retirement's so far away, you're like, I don't even know, will I be able to retire? This is one of the things that will make it so that yes, you'll be able to retire. So many of the things that we talk about here, HSAs, IRAs, 401ks, building a savings account, everything we talk about is all about finding different ways to grow your net worth and to put that money in places where you can use it as well for very specific things. Because that's one of the things we're going to talk about. I was gesturing towards where real estate used to be. That's one of the things we're going to talk about that we mentioned in talk about in the real estate webinar, is that a lot of people end up sinking a lot of money into places like their house. And so their net worth is growing, and maybe not growing as efficiently as possible. And not only that, but they don't have access to that money, so they can't. It's kind of like the fable about the miser who buried a brick of gold that got stolen, and his neighbor said, "Well, you might as well just bury a brick for all the good that it was doing you, because you're just looking at it, and it's just in the ground." So an HSA is a wonderful way to make sure that your money is working for you. Yeah. If you have this available, this might be something to definitely consider. I know I'm pretty excited, especially because again, you put the money in tax-free, and otherwise, if you're paying for medical expenses, you got to hit the 7.5% of your annual income in medical expenses before it even becomes tax deductible. With an HSA, you're already putting it in tax-free. So you're basically getting a one-up, and you don't even need to worry about incredibly large medical bills, which is so important. So you're paying for medical bills with a lower tax rate. It's so powerful. Yeah.
I have one more thing to chip in here that I forgot to mention, which is even if you're absolutely lucky, blessed, and don't have high medical costs in retirement, what's great about HSAs is that after age 65, there's no longer any restriction on what you can spend the money on. And so if it comes out for other expenses that aren't health related, it's no longer tax-free. It's just deferred tax at that point. But then it's just like a traditional IRA or your 401k. And so even if you're saying, well, I don't plan on having, any of those issues when I'm older, I'm living really healthy, that's awesome, and definitely keep doing that. In that case, your HSA, it's providing the safety net so you can cover any high costs for healthcare and retirement if you have to. But if not, it's just another account that acts just like a traditional IRA.
Yeah. So powerful. And if you're sitting there and you're wondering, I don't know if this is the right choice for me. That's where Chris and I can start to answer some questions for you. So please reach out to one of us. We'll walk through your options. You might be working for an employer that doesn't have this available, but there's still other ways to protect yourself from medical emergencies and things like that too. There's other tools that are still available. So I hope you reach out to us if you have any questions about that. Chris, do you have anything else you'd like to add about the HSAs?
I guess just the detail. One other area that we find people have questions is, I have access to an HSA, but I can't max it from my paycheck. I can't put as much into it as I'd like because I need that money to cover my expenses. And that's one additional area that an advisor can help review your situation and discuss and come up with some creative ideas for how you can actually make that money available, and especially thinking about the long-term benefits and the long-term growth you get out of it. Putting that into perspective really helps maybe adjust some priorities or even some strategies. Some people aren't funding their HSA because they're funding their Roth IRA or 401k a lot. And that's not at all a bad thing. I'd much prefer them do that than nothing, but they just don't know how good their HSA is. And so when we can talk about the priorities and how the role each account type plays, that's another place we add a lot of value.
And then for our platinum clients and above, we actually can go in and manage the investments for them in the HSA so that they know that they're getting the portfolio allocation that's working for their time frame and their strategies, which is when we also give them access to dimensional funds, which are just that's a whole other webinar that we would have to do to explain how amazing they are. They're just really great. Cool. Yeah. So if you have any questions about HSAs, how they can apply to you, they're the right choice for you, feel free to reach out to myself or to Chris. We're here to help answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. Once again, my name is Henry. I am your friend in finance, and we have Chris Tanner here. And this has been Money Monday with our finance basics topic of HSAs. Thank you all so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Money Monday is over now. Money Monday is over now.